Okay, we're back. That wasn't too bad, was it? Okay, all right. Now we have two financing cash flows, right? What's one of them?
Issued common stock.
Issued common stock. Okay, is that going to be a positive or a negative number? It's going to be positive because cash flowed in. How much cash flowed in? Well, we sold 36,000 shares for how much each? 250? That equals 90,000 to the positive, isn't that correct? Would you agree? Yeah. Okay, what's the other financing cash flows we have?
Paid dividends.
Paid dividends. Inflow or outflow of cash? Negative, how much cash outflowed?
166,500.
Cool. Now we add those up. Did you get negative 76,500? Yeah? Okay. Hey, but we used this information in yellow to do this section right here, correct? Now, can I go ahead and get rid of this information since I need that room? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do that so that you can see this. Okay, so what are we going to call this guy right here?
Cash used in financing activities.
Cash used in financing activities. Would you agree? Okay, we're getting there, aren't we? We're not done though. We are not done, okay? Now what we have to do is we have to add these three numbers up, okay? We have to add up these three numbers in, oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Sorry about that. We want to add up these three numbers in yellow, okay? Now, let's go ahead and do that with the magic of Excel. Those equal 85,500 positive. Does anybody have any idea what that number represents? Very nice. Net increase in cash. Because it's positive, right, Lauren?
Yep.
Okay. Now here's the beautiful part. Do we know if that number is right? Is there any way we can check to see if that number is right? I'll give you a hint. The answer is yes. How could we know if that number is right? Take a look at the balance sheet. It's right there. Did, in fact, the cash increase by 85.5? Did it?
Yes.
It did. Okay? It did. That's good. That's good. Now, I'm going to show you something really cool here, but I want to finish out this. This is not the end of the cash flow statement. What we have to do now is we say plus beginning balance of cash, and that equals ending balance of cash. We have those numbers, don't we? Well, that number is, what's the beginning balance of cash? 175.5. Does that in fact equal the ending balance of cash of 261? I would say it does. Are you with me? You see what we did there? Let me highlight this in green for cash. Isn't that clever? Okay, now I want you to understand, here is the beauty of a cash flow statement, folks. Take a look at the screen. This information in green we have from the very beginning, don't we? We know the answer to our puzzle before we do our puzzle. We know that by golly, by gum, these three numbers in yellow have to add up to 85.5. Are you with me? As a matter of fact, when I'm doing a cash flow statement, a lot of times I'll just write what those numbers have to add up to over at the side. Because here's what's beautiful. Remember how I said it's so easy to make a mistake, especially in this section up here? Let's say you accidentally Let's say you accidentally subtracted your increase in income tax payable. Well, do those numbers, does that add up to 85.5? It doesn't, does it? So it's easy to make mistakes, but the beautiful part of a cash flow statement, you know those three numbers in yellow have to equal 85.5 to the positive, because that is in fact our change in cash. So if I was doing this, I would say, uh-oh, this doesn't add up to 85.500 like I need it to. It's off by 9,000. So the first thing I would do is see if something is 4,500 that went the wrong way. Oh, what am I thinking? An increase in income tax payable. We add that. Oops, almost did the same mistake. And now we're happy, right? Those equal. Do you understand the power of what I just showed you? It's a puzzle. You got to look at these cash flow statements as puzzles. You know what the answer is. The information in green that you're looking at is we have from the very beginning. And you know that these numbers in yellow have to add up to 85.500 in this case. Isn't that cool? All right? Now we're not quite done. There's one other thing I have to do. Does anybody know? No? Think back to accounting 1. We have to prepare this in good form, don't we? Which means I like the name of the company, the name of the statement, cash flow statement, or you could say statement of cash flows, and then I need to title it correctly, right? For year ended 12/31 of 15. Whoops, correct that. Okay. I lovingly take points off in my class if students forget to prepare it in good form, okay? Now, let me see if I can get it all on one. So there you are looking at it in its entirety, aren't you? That is a complete cash flow statement in blue. Now this information in green at the bottom, actually you don't need that guy right there, but everything else over here you need in your cash flow statement. That information in green down here is not just some self-checking mechanism. That is part of the cash flow statement. Does that make sense? But when you do, I'm going to give you a cash flow statement to do for next period. And when you do it though, I want you to know that those three yellow numbers, they need to add up to 85.500, which we already know because we know our beginning balance of cash. We know our ending balance of cash. Thus we know that cash increased by 85.500. You with me? Do you kind of see how I'm saying if you know how to classify your cash flows and if you know how to calculate operating cash flows, the investing and finance section was pretty easy, wasn't it? Okay? All right, any questions on that?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
On the common stock.
Yes.
In the liability section of the balance sheet.
In the
How do you
well,
know?
they don't head that up, but the common stock is in the equity section of the balance sheet.
Okay.
Okay?
How do you know that you don't use that? Or how do you know that you use the one in the bottom section rather than the one?
Well, that's a great question, and let me answer this. Okay? Let's go back to this. What's the difference between these two numbers? It's 36,000, right? What's the difference between these two numbers? It's 54,000, okay? So common stock went up by 36. Additional paid in capital went up by 54. I'll tell you what, let's go back over to the Elmo. I can replicate what the journal entry it was. We debited cash for 90,000. We credited common stock for 36,000 for the par value, right? And remember this additional paid in capital? That is also an equity account, and it was credited when we made this entry. So this is your journal entry right here when you issued that stock. Does that make sense? Great question. This kind of leads into what I'm going to talk about next period. But what I'm going to show you next period is that every change in every balance sheet account is somewhere shown on the cash flow statement. We'll talk about that next time, but I don't want to overload your brains. Good question. Any other questions? Any other questions? Okay, here's what I want you to do for next time. I'll put this up on the screen. You can show it while I'm handing it out to the folks who here are live. I want you to do a complete cash flow statement for New Warnick. Okay? Now, I'm not giving you any check figures audibly here because you already have check figures that you can calculate, don't you? You can look at that beginning balance of cash, ending balance of cash, and see the change in cash, okay? So what I want you to do before we meet again next time is to do the complete cash flow statement. Come back to me real quick. I'll tell you the steps. You need to calculate your operating cash flows. Then you go down to that additional information and decide on each one of those pieces of information. Is it an investing or financing cash flow? And then you ask yourself, is this an inflow or an outflow of cash? Then you use that information to prepare your investing and your financing sections. Add up the three numbers and see if it does in fact equal what you know to be the net change in cash. Cool? All right, any other questions, guys? Good job. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.